Good evening and welcome to the City of Wodonga Council meeting for 21st October 2024. Begin with the welcome and acknowledgement of country. Wodonga Council acknowledges Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people as the first inhabitants of the country and as traditional custodians of the land. We respect their ancestors, elders and young people and recognise their continuous connections to lands, waters and communities across the country. Item 2, apologies, request for leave of absence and request to attend electronically. Councillor Lowe has previously been granted leave of absence for tonight's meeting and all other councillors are in attendance. Conflicts of interest, any councillors with conflict of interest? The first item on the agenda is item 4, confirmation of minutes from the previous meeting. Do I have a motion, please? Councillor Hall, Councillor Chamberlain. Any references, any comments to be made? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. The minutes of the ordinary meeting on September 23rd, 24. Do I have a motion, please? Councillor Hall. Councillor Simpendorfer. No comments. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item 5, petitions, of which there are none. Item 6 is delegates' reports, of which there are none. Item 7.1, adoption of strategic internal audit plan 2024 to 2026. Do I have a motion, please? Councillor Quilty. As recommended, seconded Councillor Chamberlain. Councillor Quilty.
Thank you, Councillor Fulton. Myself and Councillor Chamberlain have been representing this council on Audit and Risk Committee. Audit and Risk Committee is an important committee overseeing financial and a number of other risks for the council. The important function the council oversees is internal audit, and strategic plan has been devised and approved by internal audit, recommended to council. As we know, this council has been striving for efficiency and making sure that resources are applied wisely and every dollar spent is spent for the best and possible way of serving this community. Not excluding the internal audit function. Internal audit function is external to this organization and therefore it is expensive to run every internal audit, but very, very necessary. The council employees under the direction of the council to strive for efficiency has undertaken assurance mapping to make sure that internal audit plan covers the most important and cost efficient from the financial point of view aspects of the work of this organization. Therefore, the strategic audit plan has been made and it's going to have roughly 1 or 2 audits, internal audits per financial year. We are planning to run such audits, or the council after us will be looking at auditing the IT general controls, climate change, sustainability and sustainable community infrastructure, staff well-being, and in October to December quarter 25, and I think it is a very good idea, The internal audit will be looking up at how the council has implemented recommendations made in the previous audits. Then again, audits of payroll, occupational health and safety, and very important, the audit of conflict of interest and how it is observed and followed in the organization will be conducted. That will be July to September 2026. And again, October to December 2026, the last quarter of the calendar year, there will be an audit to see the following up of the recommendations in the audit done in that year. There is also a specialist audit plan, and audit activity includes such as health, safety and well-being, environmental management systems, environmental lands, previous recommendations, planning and building, and control effectiveness. I think it's a sound plan. It has been endorsed by Audit and Risk Committee, and I'm happy to vote in the support of this internal audit plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Quilty. Councillor Chamberlain.
Yeah, I basically just want to echo Councillor Quilty's comments. This plan is an ongoing plan, and this is the latest iteration. There's been a couple of changes. Some things have been progressed further forward in the audit list, and a couple of things have been moved backwards. Significantly, I think credit card audit was scheduled for 2025 at some stage and has moved back because we're fairly confident about the controls around our credit cards at this stage. So it was more important to do something that was more relevant and more, higher on the importance list, let's put it that way. So they're ranked accordingly to importance, resources required to do them, and basically how we need to get them done. And they're put into a list like this, and this list is reviewed generally, and it was reviewed at the last Audit and Risk Committee, and this is the latest iteration of that. And I think it's a pretty good and extensive list. And it makes a lot of sense when given the risks that may be involved and why the audits are done. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chamberlain. Other councillors? Councillor Poulton.
Just thought it'd be an appropriate moment just to thank Councillors Quilty and Chamberlain for their efforts. If I could, I know it's not in relation to the actual item, but I thought since it's a topic of discussion, just thank them for their efforts on behalf of councillors. For the last 12 plus months, 2 years. I think you both sat on that one. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Poulton. Back to Councillor Quilty to close.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much, Councillor Poulton. It has been a lot of work. I would also like to thank Councillor Chamberlain for being brave and joining me on Audit and Risk Committee as soon as he got on council. I would also like to thank Officer Fleckert and her staff for being a huge help to Audit and Risk Committee and working so hard. Internal audit is a lot of work for the Finance Department, providing all the information. And I think the Finance Department have done a magnificent job. We, firstly, in providing information for internal audits, and secondly, for either following up the audit recommendations or providing the reasons, very valid reasons for why something should be moved back or handled otherwise. I can see several council candidates sitting in the audience tonight. And I'm sure other council candidates are watching us on live stream. And I would like to encourage any new councillors to be brave. The new council will need 2 volunteers to join Audit and Risk Committee. It's a great opportunity to look into the works, bells and whistles of the council. Be brave, join Audit and Risk Committee, even if it's only for 1 year. And you will see a lot of interesting and useful stuff, and you will learn a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Quilty. I'll put that motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. The next item is item 8.1, the annual report 2023-2024. Do I have a motion, please? Councillor. And a seconder, please. Councillor Chamberlain. Councillor Poulton.
Mr. Mayor, whilst I'm in the position to probably speak a little bit to this more so than those councillors seeking re-election, I just put it that the the recommended motion there, I'll just highlight for those paying attention to the meeting that the annual report 23-24 as presented and inclusive of the audited financial statements as of June 30, 2024 be received and noted, and they're there for everybody to have a look at. So I just encourage them to do that and look at the council's performance, and I think keep it nice and basic and clean so no one can get in trouble. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Poulton. Councillor Chamberlain.
Yeah, I won't add a lot to that. I'll take a slight risk and just say, as part of the Audit and Risk Committee, which was in the previous item, items on this council plan obviously went through the Audit and Risk Committee as well for approval before it came here. And it was interesting to note that the surprise on the face of the Audit and Risk Committee chair when he noticed that there was zero in the last 12 months reimbursement for councillors for money spent out of the councillor's own pocket that they were reimbursed. Almost unheard of. So good control by the current councillor group, well done. The other thing that they wanted to note, and we've mentioned this before and I'm going to mention it again, is the quality of the information that they were given to go through, and that's down to the staff, the work they've done, in particular the finance department, but also, Matt, if you could pass on to all of the departments in council. The work they've done in putting together this annual report is exemplary, and I think it should be recommended. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Chamberlain. Other councillors? Councillor Cruelty.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will, of course, join Councillor Chamberlain and other councillors in thanking the Finance Department for this report. I would like to point out a couple of things. Firstly, not financial, a couple of things this time. Firstly, I agree with Councillor Chamberlain. It's been a very good achievement by councillors not to claim any reimbursements. In the final year of council tenure is probably easier. I'm sure next council will probably end up having some educational expenses in their first year, as there are courses that councillors are often advised to do. For example, there are courses run by MAV and that explain how council finances work, how what councillors need to know about town planning works, etc., and various educational and conference expenses that new councillors may want to attend due to professional duty of not professional, but their council duty of care, and to increase their knowledge to serve the community. However, there are a lot of other entitlements that are probably not necessary or nice to have, and I would like to congratulate my colleagues for being very responsible and not taking more than we need, and as this year nothing at all, and leaving a few more dollars in the ratepayers' pockets. One more thing very quickly, the financial reports in every election year are a bit different. They're presented in caretaker's period. Therefore, there are a number of limitations. The timing is tight. There are limitations on community consultation or seeing community views on that, and it's a little different from the previous 3 years, the way we present it to the community, the way the timing works, the way it's all presented to council. However, it's a good report, it's timely, it's before the election date, and Audit and Risk Committee has endorsed it, and I'm happy to vote on its support. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cruelty. Other councillors? Councillor Hall.
Yeah, this is the annual report is a requirement of the Local Governments Act, so we have to produce one every year. It's a snapshot of the year. It's to meet legislative requirements, but also to keep the community informed and engaged with local government activities and incentives. It is presented to the public and council to promote transparency and accountability. So it's actually just a snapshot of the 2023-2024 year, and it's a good document to read. It's not too long, but it does give some very informative information. So I encourage everyone to have a go at reading it and see where we sit, and as you say, financial documents are, statements are included. So, yeah, okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hall. Okay, thank you. Councillor Poulton to close.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to touch on the no expense claims of councillors, and I know that it sort of seemed glowing perhaps from this councillor group at the moment. I wasn't going to touch on this, but since it was brought into the conversation, I thought I'd better. I wouldn't be one to sign up quickly to say no expense claims means that the councils have done the best possible job on behalf of their community. It might mean that we've perhaps been sheltered and not gone anywhere and perhaps not put in enough effort. That could be a reflection perceived by some people, but I did want to highlight, I guess, the importance of the childcare expenses, which haven't been claimed by any councillors for some years, but is an entitlement to any of those candidates that are seeking election at the moment. Perhaps when they do go to conduct council business on behalf of the community, it is something that is there as a support mechanism. And I think particularly if there's, and I'm not too sure if there are any, but if there's any young parents with young families that have wanted to put their hand up and perhaps do something good for their community, but maybe held themselves back based on that, we should be, as a community in the future, be thankful for that opportunity that's legislated for this organisation to be able to support making sure there's good decision makers sitting around the table. I think I'll leave it there, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much. Put the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Poulton. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. The next item is reports for information. Mr. CEO, I believe you've got some amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In relation to item 9.1 for the councillor briefing on the 23rd of September, the written record has omitted the attendance of the Manager of Finance, Brent Quill. We'll note this in the minutes and the official record will be corrected for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. The items 9.1, record of councillor meetings. Any comments? Anything wish to be raised? No. Item 9.2, decision register. No. Audit Risk Committee minutes, September 2024. Any matters to raise? No. No urgent business. No confidential business. That being the case. Okay. In closing the meeting, there's a couple of things I'd like to just say in closing the meeting. Tonight's meeting draws the formal proceedings of this council term to an end. It's been a very humbling experience and an honour to serve as the Mayor of this wonderful city. In concluding my term as Mayor, I'd like to acknowledge the work and dedication of our staff during a period of change with a new CEO and new ideas. I expressly want to acknowledge the massive work undertaken by our finance staff in putting together this year's budget under quite difficult circumstances. I wish to thank all the volunteers who have supported both council projects and events and our community in all the various ways. Our community would be much poorer without volunteers supporting our parks and planted areas, our sporting clubs, the CWA, the Men's Shed and the various service clubs, to mention a few. I would also like to acknowledge the service of Janet Dorr, the government-appointed Monitor of Council. I very much valued her contribution and advice. I'd like to thank all councillors for their service over this term to our community. I wish to thank Councillor Hall, who was Deputy Mayor during the first year of my term as Mayor, and Councillor Chamberlain, who was Deputy Mayor for this year and a member of the Audit and Risk Committee. I wish to acknowledge Councillor Poulton's time as Mayor for the first 2 years and Councillor Simpendorfer as Deputy to Councillor Poulton. Thank you to Councillor Quilty for a dedicated and most valuable service to the Audit and Risk Committee. And I wish to acknowledge Councillor Lowe, whose service during the time has been very admirable given the personal challenges during the term. I wish to acknowledge the long-standing service of former Councillor Watson and his dedication to and belief in the strength of our community. And also thank you to former Councillor Kat Bennett for her time serving our community at the beginning of this term. Thank you to all the families in the background, without whom the councillor role would be so much more challenging. And that gets underestimated, I might add. A very big thank you to my wife Anna and my family and all those people who have supported me as a councillor and as mayor and whom I have relied upon for a sounding board and sage advice. I could not have done it without them. Finally, thank you to Matt Hyde and the executive team for their dedication and advice and for recognising the need for culture and policy change and stepping off on the long path to delivery. I declare the meeting closed at 6:19.
Quickest meeting ever.